Okay, we get the ADP leader. Welcome, Mr. Mfaji. You hear me, sir?
Yes. How are you?
Well done. Okay, no worries at all, sir. Welcome. So another ADP leader don't join me. So I mean, the more the merrier. So like I've been say, Fabulem, there are so many things happening that even we waiting at the media front, social talk shows, we're not even able to catch up with the speed at which things are unfolding. But we know say together we can do a better job. That's why it's quite relevant that we get these conversations, all of the time, not on the same platforms, but on different platforms. It is quite necessary. Not too long ago, we know say one party come on a power and another party come inside. And when I think they happen, of course, that's a shift, that's a transition. And since then, there have been other issues as well, hiccups here and there, headbutting here and there are many questions and less answers. For help we for take this argument or this conversation forward today, all of them as big stakeholders, respectively, in different kind of responsibilities. Some are political parties and some are like civic societies or civil societies that they can call them. So without much ado, let's just go to my first guest and they go around for try for see whether they can introduce themselves to Una. So I will start from Mr. Mfaji Kaba, where I believe are the acting leader of the Alliance Democratic Party of Mr. Kamarimba Mansari. The floor is yours, sir. Let me hear your introduction. Tell Fambule who you are.
Hello.
Yes,
good evening, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, and the colleague participants then for this program. I thank you now all for where we give the time for now we can for discuss pertinent and serious issues related to the country. Mina Fajikaba, Mina the Deputy Chairman for the Alliance Democratic Party, and I thank the management, Mr. Prince, and the management for giving us this opportunity to deliberate on issues. Thank you.
Many thanks, sir. I will go to Mr. Adams Bangura for introduce himself. You need for me unmute your mic, Adams.
Yeah, hi. Good evening to we fumbled them, both home and abroad. Mina Adams Bangura, a member of the APC UK party.
Okay, many thanks. I will go to Mr. Bashiru Vandi for introduce himself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, both home and abroad. Mina Bashiru Vandi, Mina the Publicity and Media Secretary for NGC UKI, and very grateful to my brother, Mr. Kuruma, for organizing this program. And they look forward for a very vibrant and informative, very cordial and progressive debate. Thank you.
Many thanks, God willing. And Mr. Emmanuel Jimisa, if you can introduce yourself, sir, please, if you will.
Hi, Mina Emmanuel Jimisa, senior member of the C4C party. And I also want to appreciate Mr. Prince for this platform. And I hope we will get a very successful discussion.
And thank you.
Also,
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes,
sir.
I also want to welcome listeners and viewers, so people at home and abroad to follow up on this program. Thank you very much for having me.
You're most welcome. And I also want to say, now the panel here tonight, we get a team of observers. I mean, this is unique by itself. Now, opportunity just presents itself, and I really appreciate this. When I will see, we get a Mr. Sam Kanu, a Mr. Mark Conte, Sister Lynette, and Sister Mara Maba. They are all observing, and at some point, we go ask them for input, waiting at their opinion about the discussions them, or if themselves just want to talk about something generally, talking about the country going forward. So, gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much. And luckily, we get two ladies waiting at the observation panel, which gives us a balance, and there won't be any discriminatory or sexist charges brought against us. This is the Then and Now platform, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Mr. Adams Bangua, I want to go to you first, okay? The reason why I want to go to you first is your party, where you belong to, the All People's Congress, has become a rancorous party, very being accused, of various allegations of misinterpretation of the law, disturbing civil services, in other words, how government will perform and getting the support from major opposition party. If these are the characterizations of the party where you belong to, if you agree or if you don't agree, will you want to explain what's in your party in position as at this point where we talk about, please?
Thank you very much, Brother Prince, and thanks once more to our viewers out there. I think it's a misconception. I will want to put it this way. Firstly, we get for understand, say, when we went into elections in 2018, the people of Sierra Leone made a choice. That is, they elected a president, say you will be the president of the nation, and then they elect the now opposition party, who even gets the majority seats at the House of Parliament. So in other words, what did the people be want? They wanted a balance of power, that while you get the governance sector and then some form of accountability should be given to the opposition for all government to the foot. But unfortunately, when this government came to power, they came to power not on the basis of wanting to work with opposition parties, but they came to power on different concepts. One of which was start by accusing the opposition party as being a criminal enterprise without any evidence at the time, no evidence, even up to as we speak. Several those evidences are being challenged. The evidence to that is still being challenged. You can't power, you refuse for work with opposition members. That is to say, what you do. 10 of the members of parliament were removed from power. The whole essence of this removal, now for make sure, say, the people of Sierra Leone not get a fair say into how there should be checks and balances in the running of the state. 10 of those members of parliament were removed through dubious means within the court systems. And we also at the time see that opposition members of parliament, first in the history of Sierra Leone, that the law enforcement bodies were invited to the house. They were forced, dragged. We also saw where members of parliament, elected officials, were beaten up. So then you go one for wonder if this is not a government we want to work with opposition people.
Okay.
That's where the whole thing started. So to say that APC want for work with the government of the, I think that's a completely misconception that people not able to understand exactly some of the things that will lead to this position where we did elect today.
So that is a complete misconception, according to Mr. Adams Bangura, that in party, the All People's Congress come na power, left power, and decide for work with the government, when the government of the day, now they don't want to work with them and they don't call them all kind name, and then come the government of President Bio come with a different concept. You see, these are the disappointments because we've been expecting things like this, here for flow, so we can have, like Mr. Bashir would describe, a cordial, constructive, engagement. Unfortunately, and Fambule, I want to make clear to una that the representative, I will call him some because he's highly placed, because I try for find like for the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, where for we can defend the party and go on the offensive possibly, and not decline the invitation, but as we speak up till now, even though if we accept him and we got records of that, he hasn't turned up, and with the hopes that during the progression of this interview, he will turn up. So I come to you, Mr. Alliance Democratic Party, based on waiting another opposition party say about the current government. I don't want to do a government bashing because you see the representative not there, but this will be no fault of ours. But with waiting, the APC man just say, Mr. Mfaji Kaba, will you subscribe to In View?
Well, I'm not a particularly subscribe to me APC colleague In Views, but this I think is a concern for every Swahilian, because it gets to do with the democratic process. A rather unfortunate way, in my own view is that hundreds of thousands of people have been disenfranchised, meaning that when you get representatives in parliament and the process for which then get them out of parliament, way up to this day, them matters them day now we courts, when at the judiciary way for interpret the constitution. and come out for give a fair judgment, impartial judgment on this issue. We know you read from them up to this time. But you see, one thing come to the attention of the Salon people is that the way this country give the now opposition party the role for let them be the majority in a parliament and the ruling government for get the executive. But unfortunately, where a lot of people not pay attention to, Mr. Prince, that's not the issue of the role where the other two opposition parties, the way they in a parliament, how they sit down and look till this thing happen, nine baffle, and nine are the unfortunate part about this whole situation at Salon. That the C4C party, we get 8 representatives, and you get the NGC, we get 4. So that makes.
Okay, we see for the.
Irrespective of the 10 cool out, but because of the balance, C4C and the NGC, the total number of representation at parliament now 12. So look at them, if that 12 they be actually join the APC when they non pull 10, then before still look at them, say constitutionally and in the interest of the nation and the people, not before give SLPP that go for letting impose a speaker on us. We should have got a very transparent system way for operate, wherein checks and balances before prevail, and also we did so today will not be for daily. Because being in the opposition, we get 3 organs of government. Prince 3, you have the legislature, you have the executive, and the judiciary. But when you come back and look at this whole process will happen, who side the 3 legs where Salon stand on, when are the unity, freedom, and justice?
Okay,
right
Mr. Mfadikaba, I know say you did in your elements, and there are many questions we get for come your way, and we will talk about the 3 arms of government and how they're supposed to be independent of each other and complement each other. But you made quite an outstanding, submission just now, in which when you say the C4C, for example, get 8 reps and the NGC get 4 reps, and if they don't form a coalition, what I mean by a coalition, because inside parliament now so things will work, locally scratch me back, I scratch you back, but then we get one element together, for go against government, if for be more formidable. Luckily, we get an NGC man now, we go able for take with you. But before I hit that question there to him, the question where they go around, first of all, Mr. Bashiru, is about the All People's Congress. The question was posed to Mr. Adams. I know you are very critical of the APC, and you are equally critical of the ruling government, the SLPP. So the accusation, about the APC being the party where not really want to work with government, is disturbing government, really they try for play with government for take the country forward. When Mr. Adam deny, he destroy them altogether, say it's not correct. I wonder what in your view, and if you can also touch on what Mr. Mfadi say in terms of NGC and 4 rep and the 8 rep way C4C get, the difference that will have made.
Okay, thank you very much. As you quite rightly say, we as NGC, we message very clear, and the message that a message of change. And when we talk about change, not to just change our word of mouth, we mean change in action. You see, what we brother talk, brother Adams Bangura, not true. For say, the spectacle we've seen at the parliament of the very physical removal of elected MPs was very unsightly. It was very brutal, very undemocratic. But you see, the problem we're gonna see, what we need for focus on, all the things we see they happen so. Now, and this time from Mr. Bangura, while I listen very carefully. Everything we see they happen now with negative, now with system. Now, what would they refer to in politics or what in Englishman they call symptoms of a problem? You see, we don't get a system in that country when APC and SLPP don't entrench, when they don't consolidate, wherein it's sitting anyone by the way they're in government, it not they respect the law at all. Then two parties here, they only pay attention to the law, to democracy, when they're out of governance. But in government, they pay little respect to the constitution. This has been the pattern throughout history. So you see the problem where we NGC they get with APC. None of us say most of the things they complain about not the true. We agree. The brutal removal of MPs from the parliament is true. It is very unsightly. And when I know the NGC party was against it, and we leader, in fact, it make a statement where we become famous now in politics. It referred to that act as junta democracy, and that was correct. And we supported, we opposed that act through that statement. Like the incident of McKinney, you see, again, we support the fact that the brutal killing of citizens in McKinney was wrong. But you see, the problem where APC gets now the lack of credibility. Everything where they oppose now in governance, they don't commit similar things in government. Most of the things when they oppose, that the problem is what they get. None of us say the thing that when they criticize, we the NGC, no, they understand. No, but the fact of the matter is, we have had a system in Sierra Leone wherein when APC or SLPP in governance, they don't know about democracy. The only time when they become prophets of democracy, now when they get in opposition. Now this make not get changed. The people don't can see that two parties are now only they are Democrats by word of mouth when they're in opposition. So we oppose the act by the government against the APC, and we lead a family demonstrate that opposition. That are the system. But until the two parties then, the APC and SLPP, I talk to my APC brother now, the best way for demonstrate a principled belief in democracy, because now we brought the call for a democratic act. But I wonder whether all the undemocratic acts were in particular commit in government, I wonder whether if they come out and oppose, like way you want to oppose the SLPP government.
Well,
now.
I will pose that question to Mr. Adams later on.
Yeah, that's not me. Then
I will pose that question there to Mr. I will pose that question there. I want equal time, Bashiru, if you really don't mind. I will pose that question there to Mr. Adams later on, because the way we go about this, it's not like about party bashing, because we will go around with all the parties them. Make I go to you, Mr. Jimisa. You've been sitting quietly for a while, and Bashiru from the NGC, instead just make a tall order accusation just now. He say APC lack credibility. Now I'm not going to ask you for determining, waiting for Bashiru will say whether he get any substance in terms of the party lacking credibility. I would rather take that question there to the APC man maybe on the panel. But Mr. Jimisa, I want to let you talk about politics generally between these two parties. Of course, we will talk about your party as well, but our party then waiting at the fringes. Whether the question was posed from the very beginning to Mr. Adam, when Mr. Bashiru been a deal with just now, that the APC party really from the onset when they lost the elections, then they work with the government. Instead, then they provoke the government. These are accusations alleged. So they ask people for their various opinions. Then they provoke the government, then they work with the government, then they disturb the government. Mr. Jimisa, do you think that this is a fact, or this not just sour grip and still excuse because 2 to 3 years on we continue for the same thing, sir?
Thank you very much. I don't think first of all, I want to make this statement clear that opposition party, one popular politician, as I know one time he say, we a member of the opposition, if you like mate speaking, you understand? And the government, like the papa and the country. I believe say if the president will get His Excellency Dr. Julius Madabio want for let the opposition party work with them, I believe say he get the resources, he get the power, he get everything at his disposal for let the opposition work with them. But just like I was saying, Mr. Adams Bangura start, the way the government start, the new government will get the way they come inside, temper, the wamat, where they can, I believe say that they will begin to get problem in terms of the two big political parties then for let them for understand themselves for take the country forward. A lot of things that happen, they don't mention the brutal removal of APC members of parliament. You understand? Anything that they now think the way government will come for listening to the people and for work for the people of the country, can get away the way he walk around anything and they for make sure say peace stay, for make sure say they will for work together with the opposition. But will not be seen none of that. I also know say APC get their own problem, and this is natural. When you're in opposition, this has been the case even here in the United States. When you're in opposition, you always want for expose the bad things of the government, the present government, so that way they will make the voters and see them bad, and then they see you good. This is how politics operate. But a few things the way Mr. Van Dien mentioned, where it say APC not get the credibility for oppose this present government because most of the things that we see they happen at this government, those similar crimes or issues them were perpetrated by the previous government. Not true say that thing that they happen, most of the things that they happen. But one thing I want to follow, take note of now that we forget a cutoff point. We will not ever continue with politics like that in Sierra Leone. For say because this previous government not do this or not this, then do so we say, oh, come, we'll not do this. No. One thing I want to follow, take note of. We vote, why they say we vote? Because whether I be vote for this present government or not, but now it's the government and they under that government and Sierra Leone and they put on it. We vote this government on the platform of change. Then we say then they come with a new direction. So that be the hope of Sierra Leoneans for say they can see that change. We think that we probably APC be doing all right. SFPP now that thing that they use, now that platform that they use and campaign and win election. So if they see the same thing that they happen at the government, that means that they call the people of Sierra Leone. That is criminal in itself. You understand? Because the thing they want to condemn the previous government for, where the people believe say we want to count and we will change them, and not change them, and they do things that even worse than that. Then it means now call on the people of Sierra Leone, and that is wrong. Because if we vote for and say on account this change, okay, if you don't do X, Y, Z, we are not comfortable with them. When I come a lot, right? They want to say come and do the same thing. I believe it's alone they go no side. So in as much as I not support some of the things the way APC do where they gain that power, but it also not means the SFP for using that as leverage for perpetrating crime that we see happen in our country. When they do that, they continue to go before. So I believe they will therefore, if we left this country, if we really like this country, politicians the way they talk, especially the ruling party, if they left this country, first of all, they're not for to compare themselves to APC. Say APC not so wait on they talk one will do this. Say I don't know go before. Do the things that APC not do so they go continue to get the confidence of the people for continue for keeping power. But what do they say is quite different. Honestly, it's different. It is appalling, it is sad, it's not good for a country, people that continue to suffer, will not see any change. The new direction is no new direction. It's just the same pattern we don't use to happen at the country, and this is sad. Yeah, so if you ask me that, please, I guess this time is short contribution I will give in respect of that.
That is a damning verdict, and that's a scathing, attack. Again, like I say, unfortunately, the man who should have defended all of this is not here. And Fambolem, as we go along, as soon as they join, I want to know say we did extend an invitation to the SLPP representative, when a senior man for the UK and I branch, Naya, he accepted the invitation. We went out and print flyers, and the correspondence day. I mean, up till now, we're not turn up yet, and we still hope say he will turn up, but if he not turn up, that really looks bad on him, because there is no excuse, like he sent an apology, say, but no way before come. That is not the way a political party should be functioning, but I will reserve my verdict for now. But Mfaji, I'll go to you, and this round, did not say it will be a bit volatile, and the attacks, here kind of scary, but I like the leverage. Pretty soon we will go to the observer them, so then we're able to weigh in and tell me how this first part go. So now we run down small, go personally to people them and then political parties. So I start with you, Mr. Mfaji. You are the acting current leader for the Alliance Democratic Party, and like we talked the last time, you obviously they put foot inside big shoes, okay? But before I ask you the first question on your party, I just want to ask about your leader how it do, because it go through court proceedings now and get a huge case on the neck. How are things going, sir, for you leader?
You know, Mr. Prince, this is very interesting for ladies alone people they know. Because like all what we talk, so all what my colleagues they don't say, it reflect on every individual in this country, how with democracy, how with justice system they really operate. And I appreciate this question where you ask. You will be surprised if from the time we don't talk up to this day, prior to that, it's over 72 days, just a mere allegation. The defense team or the defense lawyers, they don't do everything according to the laws of this country and internationally making references to ECOWAS, Chacha, to UN, to AU and everything. The court, as we got it, instructions from above, they refused for grant and bail. Even where the prison send the doctor, send a medical report, say this man not well, we're not able to provide social thing for that. They refuse for grant and bail. So you can just imagine when an allegation, this not a murder trial, this not a treasonable something, but you know, it goes to the point where we get for understand, say, today is Kamarimba. Nobody know they say Kamarimba do this or you know do it. But why you not go allow let the man get enjoy in human rights? Why you for depriver of voting na in your right, not to flight risk, na in self work go inside our place. So the man, how he did right now, to tell you the truth, psychologically, morally, and it's all about political. Let's put it that way. Because if not the law, I mean, you get prominent, outstanding lawyers like Charles Magai, you get Emmanuel Safa Abdullah, you get J.M. Django, you get Samuel Conte, Abdullah Kuruma. These are professional, these are good lawyers. They've quoted every section in the Constitution, ECOWAS, and every other thing. The court say, no, we're not give you bail. So if you ask what's in a situation, just briefly, that's how it is right now. We don't exhaust everything possible for actually the man get in bail. They don't agree. He's still there in detention. Yes. So
okay, many thanks for that. At least a good way to shed light on the international stage about the state of una leader and how you make it so clear, because some of these things are unheard of. Let's be honest about it. And if you go through the process of law, you should be guaranteed at least some kind of justice, and especially so on the basis of allegation. And now that you even the suspect say that the case allegedly is politically motivated, it seems like the leader will be in for a rough time to come. 72 days is quite a long time to hold somebody on the basis of allegation, and bail cannot be granted for flight risk for the leader of an opposition party. Well, I'll ask you another question based on the same ADP. Thank you for giving us that update. Here is the question. Your party, obviously, especially so within the context of which you just talked just now, how relevant is it in terms of the political machinations and where they go on in the country? Whose kind of stake will you get? How powerful are you? Because I suppose say, had it been another party with clout, with grit, with gravitas, the situation most likely would have been different. Do you think any of this they play a part for let them continue for hold the leader, or this could have happened to any other political leader?
No, definitely. We should expect that it could happen to any political leader. It's obvious. Because you see, the way how I look at this thing, actually, the party, they go through a lot of, they exercise a lot of constraints. We respect the law, and therefore, they go, they watch out gradually. It's rather unfortunate because it's not supposed to be so. You see, when you look at her, me, they interpret this particular situation from your own party, your own perspective, for say, Kamaremba, ide usa ide so today. Okay? Now take the case where they don't happen recently, the political cases. You take the case of Paulo. That was a slap to the government and the judiciary system because they don't do their homework before they go do anything. That's number one. Number two, you take the case of Abbott Williams. You know, all waiting and they talk about corruption in our parliament. There are a lot of flaws. There are a lot of concerns about how the governance system they go on in this country. Okay. Now, if that man they don't in that place, they don't deprive them of human right. And they see and say, then they look at and say, you know what? Even though from what me don't they listen, why they follow up and every other thing. I'm telling you, my brother, honestly speaking, if you go by the law, there is no case there. There is no case on this particular thing. But then they look and say, hey, we don't lost one major one with Paulo. Look, 30 the Paulo in appeal case. They're not allowing. They're not give hearing. It's like, okay, now they extend or now they make this because the Chief Justice now get the responsibility for assign appeal cases. So if you not assign them, you don't go ever get the chance or the opportunity for let them trial. So you will be kept there like when give Paulo say 2 years. Okay, they want to put them concurrently until he serve the 2 years. Is that what it is? Now that justice mean? Now that democracy. So it happen, this can happen to anybody. And besides that, let person not just take and say and relax over it. The other political parties, I'm telling you, somehow they're making their own effort because they look and say this could be elect not to politicians. It can be any high-profile individual in this country. But
make a come in there quickly just for the benefit of equal time and because of course the clock is ticking. Make I take this submission to Mr. Adams Bangura. Make it just weigh in because this is now a national issue. This is now a political leader of an opposition party. And this will they talk about governance, will they talk about laws, the judiciary. Waiting on your opinion about this Kamaremba case. How you see it, Mr. Adams Bangura, please.
Thank you very much once more, Prince. Firstly, make we understand, say, there is an issue or an allegation of child abuse or molestation here. And as much as it remains an allegation that is yet to be proven, we also need for balance with the accused himself in your right, with Mr. Kamaremba on this occasion. It is an allegation that is yet to be proven. Like my brother Faji say, he's not a flight risk. The man, an opposition leader in the country, well known. You accord the man at least a bail condition while the man they wait for make in case against that be proven.
But sorry for interject, Adams, of course, my apologies, but I just want to understand something because it's the government that determines this thing. Of course, Mr. Umfaji, he get issues with that, and the issues could be conflicting because it gets stick inside it. He's part and parcel of that entity. But do you share actually that same view in terms of the interpretation of the law? How much of the law do you understand regarding this situation?
I do share Infaji's interpretation or frustration in this whole issue. That in our own context in Sierra Leone, justice will only seem to be done when it favors the government of the day, as in this case. Because mind you, also to viewers out there, we've been already. There was an allegation of a certain chief who is very close to the current system, right? It was a serious allegation that was all over the place here and there. It was broadcasted by, reported by the mother of the victim. But up until now, that person had not been invited for serious questioning, nor had that person been arrested or for say this person had not even profile charges against her. That is because this person is a system person. Kamaremba is an opposition person where they give the government tough time. So we're looking at every other opportunity that will nail an opposition person, either proven rightly or wrongly. They will come after you. As we've seen in the case of Paulo, like others. Paulo Conte, he was initially charged for treason. He was acquitted with all of those serious charges against him. Now, what I'm finding guilty for, now, what's in the Nguga for saying misdemeanor offenses, when available offenses. But what don't eventually happen now? Paulo was sentenced to 24 months. So the judge not even consider the fact that this man is a senior citizen who has served his country so diligently. He had been found wanting for minor offenses. Make we give him either a suspended sentence as you will have like this part in the UK or in some other places, or say, okay, let's have him on bail while he awaits his appeal. No, but waiting eventually happen now. Paulo in lawyers that don't go.
Okay, okay, Mr. Bangura, the issue here, I can understand the comparative analysis, but the issue here is not about Paulo. Like I say, I do understand. But at the end, I take it that you share the views, and the sentiments expressed by Mr. Mfaji Kaba, and you equally suspect, that this issue regarding the opposition leader of the ADP, Mr. Kamareba Mansari, is politically motivated. Would that be correct in that characterization, sir?
It has some political undertone. It gets a political undertone and influence. It does.
Okay. I'll take the same thing to Mr. Bashiru Vandi. Mr. Bashiru, what are your view about this Kamaremba story? Because you see, the history books are being written. And when these books are being written, they have to be, clarified and be within the right, go within the right direction. Because other than going in the right direction, it also tells a tale of the current injustices, the fight that's been led by this president against corruption. Because corruption, as you will very well know, not come in one facet. So if they attack one side and the other side becomes questionable, then everything else becomes questionable. So what do you view, me brother, about this Kamaremba saga, please?
I agree with all the previous speakers. You see, we in NGC, the thing we don't care about, we don't fed up with.
Okay. Bashiru, your microphone is muted. Bashiru, your microphone is muted. Okay. Okay, we're not hearing Bashiru. Bashiru, your microphone is muted. Okay, let me move to Emmanuel. We're not hearing you. Mr. Jimisa, are you? Okay, he's back.
Okay, so now the point is,
we're not been hearing you. We're not been hearing you at all. But you got the question, and from there we lost you. So we're not hearing where you develop the context of the submission.
Okay, we're not hearing me now.
Loud and clear.
Fine. The point that I make is, I absolutely agree with all the previous speakers. Mr. Kamerma in case, now a perfect example. Now a demonstration of the problem we'll get in Sierra Leone. Disrespect for the law, autocracy, that usurpation of power. When you're there in government, so now you're there in governance, you do what you like. What in there that you favor, with absolute disregard for the law. Now, Kamerema in case, now a perfect example of that. You see, the thing what we don't fed up with in Sierra Leone, now this complaint and criticism of the same thing, but yet we know they take the appropriate action with the citizens, with the political activists, with the supporters of them parties here. If we party there in governance, like what you see when I see people, when I remember say when APC be arrest Kamerema for that funny comical gun issue, remember? Yeah. How we go defend Kamerema? Now SLPP, that's why they're in opposition, they fight for democracy.
Yeah,
they defend Kamerema.
Good point. Yeah.
They defend Kamerema. Now SLPP then get us, they make a big issue of it. Today, when they're in governance, the same thing when they criticize APC for what they do. Well, this is our problem with the politics of Sierra Leone. You see, when we brought Mr. Jimmy Sabi to talk, let's clarify this issue. You see, when we talk, but we frustration, with the similarity between the two parties, there is similar disregard for the law, then disregard for the nation, then the repetition of bad governance of the other two parties. When we refer to them, that because we want change. You see, now you get, for example, APC in opposition. By right, we, the opposition parties, for the unite and condemn, let's see what will happen in Sierra Leone today. We don't condone them, then bad. But here is the problem. When you look at the conduct of the APC itself, what do they see? You want to know, okay, the APC is in governance, they're in opposition now. The embassy they happen. Let we see, say, if APC they don't conduct, they should say they're ready for change. Now, that's what they look for. Are you ready for change? And not only by telling us that you are, by action. So we will come together and fight injustice. But let's take, for example, look at APC, the conduct in governance.
Okay.
If you look at them, you're not going to say that you're not going to agree with them, say they're actually ready for change. So the problem is not to for criticize the system no more. The opposition for demonstrate say they're not ready for change in action. We come together. So now, Kamanama issue, Mark, I just land this point. Kamanama issue is wrong, undemocratic, very comical. The removal of APC MPs, it was wrong quite clearly. A lot of things what the government do, I can go through a list, they were wrong. But what is the answer for Sierra Leoneans then? They want to see a political party. They want to see us in the opposition for sure, we're not ready for change. Not by criticizing, but about how we set the conduct process in opposition. The problem when we got with APC and the Green Party, then they talk, criticize the government, but they, in their own action, and they do the same thing when they always do.
Okay, make I take that point there from you and send us straight to Mr. Jimmy. The problem with the opposition parties is when they did an opposition, that's the time they can be more critical and want to align themselves with others. But once they did a governance and they forget about the nature of governing. And I just want to let you go more Panande, Mr. Jimisa, both on the Kamarimba issue and waiting Bashir would just say in terms of the way our opposition can govern themselves. As soon as they regain power, just know and forget about whence they come from.
Yes, Mr. Bashir make a very valid point. But now go to Mr. Kamrimba issue. It's very sad that for 72 days you keep person in detention for a rape allegation case. If the matter is bailable, way I believe say the allegation is Mr. Kamrimba get right to bail based on the laws in our country. I don't see the reason why they not for grant and bail. The matter they appear for be political. They appear for be that politics they play or the state actors are not involved when they refuse for grant and bail. For charge the matter in a court, it was very good. The people that we believe they then are victims. Then they get right for go report to police and the actions that will subsequently happen. But for all Mr. Kamrimba in detention for 72 days, and now they make then they raise the suspicion that state actors and they inside, and this is where the judiciary they go wrong. There is no harm in that you give Mr. Kamrimba pay. Not me say he don't free of the charges they won't get against him. You want him to go to court, he goes to court. I mean, if when I find out guilty, then when I find out guilty, maybe he's not guilty, he's not guilty. What happens now if you're not guilty? At the end of the day, when I go able for compensate Mr. Kamrimba, when I go able for appreciate, when I go able for pay damages in case when I later find out say not guilty. And this is why I say I believe say the matter is bailable, so he's supposed to be granted bail. But for keep somebody for 72 days in detention over an allegation, and this person not to picking person at the country for say go they go this. Besides, it can grant and bail, you get different restrictions. So you can get say travel restrictions. You are not allowed to leave the Western area. You can be in your house, but you're not allowed to leave the Western area without notify the appropriate authorities. That is another way for restrict Mr. Kamrimba in movement. Probably if I think saying a risk, but when they do none of that, so keeping him there is quite wrong. It also means say guilty or not guilty anyway. Then they left to the professionals of the law for decider. But coming to the second part of the question with two big parties that were going at the country, what Mr. Van talk is true. Each of them parties anywhere they're in opposition, now they sabi how for wrong country. I remember Mr. J.J. Safau, current Minister of Finance, where if they talk about the economy of the country, APC don't not the work. I mean, they're ready to handle the economy fine. Now this man is a Minister of Finance, and we'll see how inside the economy they like today. So it's true. When these two parties, one of them they in government, they forget the rules. When they go to opposition, then they know say there are rules. So this is wrong. But I believe say also we always have a responsibility for talk and handle the government in power, because now the opposition, at least they might be paying for whatever they did wrong, we made the people and vote them out of power. The fact that they're in opposition, that means it's a form of punishment where the people of Sierra Leone, they punish them, say, you are going to be here for the next 5 years, as the case may be. But now, the one they were in power, I mean, we'll therefore talk to them. One thing I will agree with Mr. Vandy. Now, I will not for say, because next year they happen, and this is my initial point I make, that we for sit down and watch the present government, they do things their way not right. No, we can still come together as a opposition party and we'll believe say something not right, no condemn as the united force. You understand? That way they will do justice to the country. You understand? If it happens that down the line, now my party kind of power, you understand, and my party they do things that went all right, I mean, you have right to condemn. We're not going to say because we're not going to condemn because now so SFP they do so we're not for condemn this government. No, the person where they bear the responsibility now the way they in power, he has to be accountable to the people of Sierra Leone. So we always get for hold them to task, and we always get for keep them on their toes for make sure so they do the right thing. So yes, Absolutely. It is very important. It is very important that opposition members come together in cases where necessary for tell the government something they do not right. Before I conclude my statement, I want to appreciate two members of the SFPP. These are members of parliament, Honorable Tawa Conte and Honorable Geval Esquire. These are patriots. These are patriots. Now people in Israel for celebrate. It is very difficult to see a ruling MP, I mean, stating certain things that are happening in this government. It is very difficult to see. We know the students in any awful. Those people, these two guys are patriots. They are only for celebrate them. Imagine a member of parliament in charge of a committee in parliament for transparency and stuff like that, ethics, etc., etc. They say parliament, they stop her for doing the way for do, they twist her for doing and for do, and on that basis they resign in position. That is that is a patriot right there. It's very difficult for ladies to like that. So let's just drop them points there. I very much appreciate then two members of parliament from the ruling party.
I can feel the emphasis, and I believe say everybody else on this panel will kind of agree with you, because in a parliament which is actually corrupt by the Afrobarometer and all other measurements, these two guys seem to be men of integrity and men of principle. At least they don't exhibit then traits than they. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for the viewers around. We ask again, let we share, let we continue for share. Let we multiply the numbers. We are having a very important discussion here tonight, and we get several representatives from various political parties. And I want to say thank you to them, especially Mr. Jimisa, calling from California at this time when the hour is very, very awkward, but he actually made time, and also to the other guests then. So far, this is the then and now. I'm your host and presenter, Prince Chroma, and we deep into this conversation. Fambule, we get some observer them. I want to bring the observer them, let we hear it, waiting at the view thus far, as much as we don't talk, waiting, then think. So make a call on Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark, if you hear me, if you can unmute your mic and give me a contribution, if you will, please. What are your views so far with the way how this conversation will go on? What do you observe? What are your thoughts? And what do you can input? Mr. Mark Conte, please.
You hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
First and foremost, I want to say you thank you for this show, because it give you a lot of insight into what happened in the country.
Thank you.
Basically, just a short run for me. But Vandy and Mr. Jimisa, they don't touch on the most important way they affect the country. And now this is the thing I think we need to look at for address, where the system ain't bad, we get bad system. And whichever government we talk about, whether it's APC or SLPP, and the two major parties, they're not getting nothing for proof to we saying a good thing, with regards to the system. So waiting where I don't talk, I think me on concern, how we for deal with the system, how we for try for change the way we do it in that country there. Because it's so hard for even the other small parties that now, like the ADP and NGC, for me then get big role for play, because anyhow we go to election, we still get the same party them, either APC or SLPP. So yeah, Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Vandy for me, then don't touch on the key thing when at the system we for really try to see how they change, and Then as a position now, they really need for work together, not to for just say because APC will do this or SAP will do this, so then for just lay back, not for work together as a team for condemn or for oppose the ruling party. So then get parts for play that side for make sure so they work as a team for continue for the expose the ruling party. But the system itself is something that we actually get for watch because the system really is broken down.
Okay, many thanks for that. At some point, we will throw the question to them on how potentially a kind of mix and match is possible. I mean, genuinely, for take the country forward. Madam Mariam Abba, are you there? Can you hear me? Sister Lynette, can you hear me? Oh, okay, Mariam Abba. Okay. Thank you so much, sister, for being patient. It's not easy for Sidon and the background, just to listen to other people and they talk. Thank you so much. But you get an opportunity now. So far, where you go here, waiting that you take. What have you observed? And if you get any input, please.
Yes, thank you, Prince, for the job what you did do. Yeah, I don't listen to so many of the speakers they're waiting and don't say. But if I say I will ask them all one by one, we know the common today. So the most important one for us now to the Mr. Adams, where he say the SLPP no want for work with the APC, but I believe say they're all waiting at the political parties, they're waiting at parliament, they're all adult and educated people. They know waiting at them do's and then don't. So if an opposition party in parliament turn the parliament to circus, behave like hooligans, where is the respect for the law?
Okay.
And before the SLPP kind of power, Mr. Samura Kamara make a statement before say if he not win the election, it will make Sierra Leone become ungovernable.
Okay.
Is it serious? Is that what somebody who wants to be a leader of a country should say? Is that what is affecting the country now? For me, I think say it get question for answer because of that statement. Because whatever he say, now in the happen at the country today. Sierra Leone is a loving, a peaceful country. So we need for enjoy. We don't kind of this part of the world for so many years. We want for retire and go home. We're afraid for go home because of what they go on at the country. Sierra Leone lack of anything, but because of waiting the oppositions, then they do. Not a give chance for the present government for do the work what they're supposed to do. But all I can say to the SLPP government, picking on the rule in Papana Os. They are the rulers. They have to do what they're supposed to do and give deaf ears to these blind deaf people.
Fair questions being thrown at the APC man at the panel, Mr. Adams, who I believe say go deal with him. So I will throw the question to Mr.
That question for me. If now Samora Kamara say the affected, no, well, not the government, the country today.
Thank you.
This is not more about politics. It's about the country.
Yes, Madam Mayama, well said, and I think say Mr. Adams will have your question, and I believe say you want for responding kind. Mr. Adam, if you can make a short, please, because I get a question. The next question will go to you.
Just very quickly, I think if we sister talk about honesty, I think say we owe it to ourselves and we conscience. You're not going to tell me say now APC responsible for this, wherein in this whole panel, every other person don't highlight the beginning of this whole problem that the country where we face the elected. When the people they elected President as president, and then they elected the opposition for hold the government accountable. In them parts of the world, including inside INSEF, you get what they call a bipartisan approach. If the government were sincere for work with the opposition, it not be for lead way into all of this. You left other than the people don't give mandate. You reach out to the opposition for make una work. That's how you cross the aisle, as in Kisena America, for make you work in the interest of your people. You cannot blame the APC for waiting they happen. So when not to APC go with police or armed personnel, then now the well of parliament. Mind you, the well of parliament then get their own independence. You get a protection there that for anything you say in the world, you are protected constitutionally. That
okay,
you should not be arrested or let go.
Okay.
Let me just round up.
I think the point is
I just want to round up with regards to the comment where he say Samura Kamara make. Again, now they did dishonest today. And then candidate Bio, when it was rumored that President Kumar wanted to go for a third term, when President Kumar not talk, what was President Bio's statement? He said President Kumar will be responsible for any problem what the country will get for face. Right? In other words, what he for say. Now they give an inverse threat to the country that should that happen.
Adams, that point taken and understood. Yeah, you see, these are the trading of blame games, and Madam Mariam Abbas say, adults in parliament acting like hooligans, at times, and then the center cannot hold because things are falling apart. And we're having this conversation here tonight. So viewers them around the world, we just get quick observation moment then from we observer they're waiting at the background. I see a sister just sign on. Sister, if you hear me, if you can just quickly identify yourself. I don't know whether you get much for say because you haven't really had much, but maybe you go one of much little bit as you observe. The sister will just join in with the iPhone.
That is not Eva. I just joined, so I try for catch up.
Eva, you look wonderful. So now Bashi will don't give this things you don't suffer. So anyway, thank you very much, Sister Lynette. Sister Lynette, hi there. Sister Lynette, are you there? Sister Lynette? Okay, Sister Lynette seemed for the off the thing. Brother Sandy, Jonathan Sandy, are you there, sir?
Yes.
Okay, Brother Sandy, yes, sir. Thank you very much. You've been patient. So you've got your turn. Yeri Boku from the panelists then. What do you take so far from the conversation that we've had? Any input, any observation,
Prince, how
any
are
critique?
you and Vanti? And let me take the opportunity to thank my brother Mfaji Kaba. Of course, he's been strong out there, and we're all on the ground here. As you say, my name is Jonathan Sandy, doctor. I am the legitimate chairman for the All Political Party Association in Sierra Leone.
Wow.
And I've been listening carefully, and quite an interesting theme. And I like the contribution for all the panelists, and thank you so much for digesting. But I have just a few things that I want to observe is that, one, that the team itself, say contrasting views.
Yeah.
It's in now and then. When I look at them, I'll be the try for which time frame Prince they look at. We talk about now and then. Then second, for me, when you look at now and then, since independence, it is Raku remind say the now and then in terms of our governance, like waiting some of the speakers then say, Vandy and Adams and others, the now and then, obviously, it is around our governance system. And from since independent, are we happy? Especially, let we take the timeline, say, from 1996, where multi-party democracy come back in. We don't do over 6 to 7, almost 5, 6 national elections now, whether from local governance. Hello?
Yeah, would they hear you? Somebody apparently.
Yeah, so the question is, are they still come to this issue about now and then? Somebody make a salient point.
It's then and now, Mr. Sandy, which means yesterday and today. And by so doing, understanding yesterday, then we can make clear we understand today. And together, just like what we do now, if we don't understand yesterday and we find common ground, then we can move forward.
That's the point I'm saying in terms of our democratic governance. The point is not contrasting views. And the idea is we are contrasting most of the discussion as if we don't move towards APC versus SLPP, which to me is not really what I was looking forward to. Because at the end of the day, one of the things where I don't argue at many platforms, where is do we as Sierra Leoneans, do we get a national agenda? Do we have a common national agenda? Because one of the things we will struggle with, I've asked this, even after we all have the candidates that we contest the last election, I agree with most of the panelists there. If you check 1996 to the term where 2007 come, immediately after elections, especially when incumbency knocking day from Tijan Kabayon term, 1996, we see where it's stretching and where it go on off. Then we get what we call inclusive governance arrangement with Temu Bangra and others. We see the same thing happen in 2007, where Koto by Kroma win, and the Southeasterners them through PMDC then come in with 6 or 7. On this occasion, waiting different, like what you they asked of Prince. The way different is where we done the election 2018, me as president or chairperson of APA, and then together with Umfaji Kaba and others, NGC, Dennis Bright and others, we designed what we call the Bintimani 3, which was the APA project. But not to women color, it was not about establishment of a social or national cohesion commission. The reason why we conceived and we conceptualized that Bintimani 3, we thought that immediately after the election, what was necessary was what we call post-2018 national elections trauma healing and reconciliation conference, where we designed and all the political party association chairman and secretary general them. Now we for lead, we create that platform because APA not a platform for opposed government, whether ruling or opposition. No, now a platform where we clearly get a constitution. Prince we talk say now for big trust and relationship between all the chairman and leadership of political party, the 17 there, so that we'll get a common vision for Salon. So would I ever did it? In fact, we'll go to the call opinion advisory note on a confidential note. Normally we can go give president for your eyes only. So we take now opportunity to look at the Kenya experience, the Nigeria and Ghana, because maybe they don't work on governance issue on the African continent for the UN. So, and I was also in charge of UNDP before the elections in Sierra Leone before I left for overseas. So at the end of the day, that was a missed opportunity because what you want to do as all the parties there now for, say after the election, all the trauma we don't go through. Now competition, now 16 bit team up election. If you want party win, then out of that 16, the remaining 15, you can forget an orange branch while we come together with Sheikh and you know, what are the time for the gentlemen and colleagues every Sierra Leoneans? Why would not nurture competitive spirit? If we look like in our football, we all go play, one possible where you win, you go above your party now and say, let me reach out to my brothers and sisters. But when I call Sidon, Samoa come, Jonathan na come, can they come? We all don't compete, but I don't beat you now. When I call Sidon, make this country because let me tell you what people don't know, and we all know. We all want to team up with 16. We all get with different tribes. We get with different supporters. We get certain some of we performance and not mean too good because now 1 week they register a political party. But never mind, don't underrate that in Africa now. Because what you see in Sierra Leone are very happy. Yesterday and today, the waiting up in 2018, you go see 2023. The people don't so wise enough that. So they gone at the days where they say the predominance of APC versus SLP. They will struggle. Because at 16 tribes they will get a Salon, they will get 17 political parties now. Who say they go get 55%? So the first thing is when you cast a power of incumbency, the way you don't win it for if not 2 times you're a member, you can forget an inclusive governance approach. And I didn't like you. Some of people want to help the situation, but now, me they took summary say, where you say from yesterday to today, but we have not been able to deal with the software after the election. From 2018, we not deal with the software. Twitter, they talk software versus hardware. If you not heal among the 16 tribes, whether they say 17 political parties, then we are not going. You cannot exclude 48%. Let's take APC, for example, Samoa Kamara doing the runoff. They get 48% or more. So if you can with an exclusive leadership style, it's not going to work. Meaning most of the 48%, let me mean Southeastern, I mean, and Vandi there on that, but theirs are the Northwestern people. There are tribes, there are people. The greatest asset we got given our different tribes them.
Yeah,
you know?
Mr. Sandy.
So I go just summarize from that point. They say, one, I think the debate for move and beyond just political parties, but we need for nurture. Do we have a common agenda as Sierra Leoneans? What is our national interest and core values? Are we working towards that? Second, I agree with the speaker that say the system now rotten. If the 1991 constitution don't become obsolete, I was in Lome. I was part of the peace mediation. But for 20 or more years, for this Anchor brought those things. Let's give it to them. They say, we'll review that constitution day. The winner takes it out for, now they will help we. Yeah. Anybody who win, either the KG master, it has Prince's Excellency. No, it don't become Prince Law, not make hypocrite. We need to get rid of the 1991 constitution. I'm your submission, and thank you so much for the panelists, and thank you, Prince, for the contribution. I just say for reinforcing Mfaji, Vanti, Adams, they all know all they say. Yeah.
No worries at all, Mr. Sandy. Just before you go, I want to use this opportunity live while we're there on air for extend an invitation to you for appear for an interview at some proposed date later. Because again, your submissions are well noted, but again, at the same time, I get one or two questions for you, because we all seem to be confused. The submission, the way you make them so salient, but you have been part of a structure where they try to determine how this country will go forward, many fences coming together and realizing a common goal. But this yet still has not worked. You talk about Bintumani 3, for example, you've been in at the background, when I've been getting a different name. But if I get them correctly, it seemed like a process again was hijacked and it became something different. If you go agree with that. So the issue here is, how do we find these common grounds? You know, and the issue where they try to discuss equally so is, will they rein in on the commonality where you just talk about? But I mean, they try to do party levels for us. You see how they ask each people about them party. And no one just puts the SLPP, especially when they not get a defender right here at the stage, for at all the questions that we possibly don't prepare as to how we will come together as a nation. Because you are absolutely right. If the winner takes it all system continue, then we are not heading anywhere. You can't just have this supreme power and then you rule for this period of time. You go, you there behind the scenes, they pull the strings, and nothing really happen. The arms of government need for function. That make I appreciate Brother Mfaji. Anytime we get an opportunity for talk, now institutions they talk about, especially the three arms of government. But I really appreciate you, time, sir. So this is a formal invitation, and I will try to talk to you later on in camera.
No problem. Thank you so much to Vandy and